Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is finally time to test the absolute best Talaria and Surron suspension that money can buy. We're out here on this amazing ride. We're up here in Eden, Utah. We got Pineview Reservoir. We're gonna head up this mountain on the Skyline Trail. This is our new favorite trail. We rode it like a week ago and we've been dying to come back ever since. I got the EXT Faro on my bike. Reed's got an EXT Faro on his bike. I've got an EXT Arma MX on the back of my bike. And we're gonna get into why this is the best suspension you can put on these e-motos, why it costs so much, what makes it different, and why it feels so freaking good. Let's head out on a ride. All right, you guys, in this weird turn of events, all of a sudden, we are rocking EXT suspension. I've been running the rear shock for just a little while because my rear shock kind of like died on me. To be fair, it did have a heck of a lot of miles, like 4,000 on stock shock. But I'm running this EXT Faro and Arma and I just cannot believe how good it feels. I even had that Manitou Dorado Expert, which is a pretty big upgrade from a lot of the stock forks. Feels way more plush. This thing is on a absolute another level.
All right, this is Reed on the camera. You guys know this, but about 2 weeks ago, I basically had a stock bike, just a couple upgrades. And then 2 weeks ago, I told Lance and Alex, I think I'm ready to get some upgrades. The next day, they went to Charge Cycle Works and got me an X9000 and a battery and surprised me. And it was freaking awesome, and I've been loving that. And then like a week later, I got my wheels. I got 1619 blue wheels, as you guys have probably seen. I'll show you guys in a minute. Also, I got an EXT Faro. You know, I was just putting it off for so long, wanting to do the expensive upgrades, but now I just told them I'm ready, and now within 2 weeks, my bike is almost fully built. I also got an EXT Arma on the way, and brakes. I got the TRP DHR Evo brakes. Those are gonna be freaking awesome. These stock brakes have been working okay, but they're not cutting it with this more power. And I cannot tell you guys how freaking good this fork feels. Like, it is unreal. I've ridden it, it's like my 4th ride on it now, and it's, every time I get on it, it's just, my mind is blown. I cannot believe how good it is.
It's so smooth, but then it just is so supportive. And I'll explain why in a minute when we stop. There is some crazy engineering within this fork that you just don't find on any of the other options you could put on a Talaria or a Surron or the small electric moto category. I pretty much need to start this review with a question. For all you Surron and Talaria riders and all the Facebook groups buying Fox 40s, why? Why in the world would you buy a Fox 40 when for similar money you can get this fork? You get no warranty and you get a fork made of plastic and lightweight aluminum that is made for a 30-pound downhill bike. They are just not the same. So by the end of this review video, I hope that nobody is spending $2,000 on a stupid Fox 40 for your 165-pound motorcycle. Oh, this trail is fun, you guys. This suspension, oh my gosh. I just can't even convey on camera how good it is. Holy cow, look at that view. You guys probably can't even see because of the sun, but oh man. This suspension makes your bike feel lighter. It absolutely makes this 165-pound, like fully upgraded bike feel light like a stock bike because the suspension is actually doing its job. It's actually suspending you. It's got good rebound. It's got all the fine tuning to where you can tune this fork for literally any weight rider. You're not like stuck buying different springs and whatnot. For the fork at least.
It's a $2,100 fork and I think $1,200 rear shock. So that's really expensive, but it's worth every penny of it, in my opinion. And we did not get these for free. We paid for these. I go catch up to Lance. Tell you what, I am loving my 1619 Warp 9 wheel setup with the huge tire on the back. I got so much traction with this X9000 controller. My bike went from stock to fully built, and it is a complete difference. It is unreal what these bikes can turn into. A lot of you guys ask, why don't you just use an Ultra B from the start? You know, that would be a lot easier and a lot better of a bike after you spend $14,000 on it. But what we wanted a smaller bike. We really like the size of the Sting R. But that's just what we went with. We went with Stings, and we love them. All right, on your list. There's one more.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We do eventually want to get an Ultra B, or I think Talaria might be coming out with a bike very similar to an Ultra B, and we're definitely going to get some of those and build them up as well. But my goodness, this fork is insane. It is so freaking smooth.
I just can't get over how much better this fork is, how confidence inspiring it is. And guys, we didn't get this stuff for free. Like, we paid good money for this suspension like everyone else, and it is worth it. If you ride a lot, if you ride trails and rip and get out and you actually spend time on your bike, oh, it's worth it. I should have done this long ago. I should have done this before upgrading controller, before upgrading battery. I should have spent the money on some primo suspension. And to be fair, when I started riding, this fork wasn't available. It wasn't even out. So I couldn't really have done that too much earlier. But you guys, if you want to have the best time in the backcountry, spend your money on some suspension and it will change your life.
Before we get into this amazing suspension and tell you why it's so flippin' amazing, check out these blue Warp 9 wheels I got. 1619, huge moto tires. It is so much fun, so much more playful than these 1821s. If you want a video comparing the 1821 to the 1619, drop a comment down below. Let's get into the suspension. Oh, also, I'm wearing 4 hoodies if I look a little thick today.
It's cold outside.
All right, Lance. Why is this suspension better than anything else you can buy?
Okay, so first off, this fork costs $2,000. The rear shock costs $1,150. That is premium suspension, especially on a bike that costs a little over $4,000 bare bones stock. So that's over $3,000 worth of suspension, but here's why it's so much better. This suspension was specifically designed for these bikes, for Surron, for Talaria, for all the electric e-motos. It is designed for a bike that weighs 150 pounds, 160 pounds. It's designed for a heavy bike. It's not designed for a 30-pound mountain bike like all the rest of the suspension that everybody runs. This is not a Fox 40. This is very different, and there's a reason why you should absolutely pick this fork over any other option. First off is it feels incredibly plush. But the main reason is it feels incredibly stiff and predictable, and it corners like no other suspension I've ever tried on a mountain bike or an e-moto. So this is what's inside the fork that makes it feel so different from lots of the other options. First off, we have a hardened chromoly steel lower stanchion, which means it just doesn't flex like those aluminum ones. This is only a 36mm stanchion, which is like smaller than a lot of the other offerings, but it is so stiff and supportive, I'm telling you guys. The other main reason is it has dual sliding bushings instead of a single static bushing. What that means is on most suspension forks, even upside down forks, even regular forks, you have one bushing right here that the lower leg slides through that supports it and keeps it from flexing and torsioning. That single bushing doesn't do a very good job, because when you have a bike so heavy pushing so much force through the wheel and through a corner, once your leg is all the way up here, it can shift a little bit inside the upper leg, or if it's all the way extended, it only is supported in one spot. This fork has dual bushing, so it has one on the upper leg right here, and it also has one on the inside of the lower leg up inside here. So when this leg goes up, you have 2 points of contact which, as you know, makes something extremely stiff and supportive. So no matter where this leg is, that upper bushing stays on this leg and they slide. And so it is just supportive everywhere, and that's why it corners so incredibly well and feels incredibly stiff, even on a 165-pound fully built Talaria, like riding really hard. I haven't felt any fork even feel remotely this predictable and plush at the same time, because that also lets it have, with less flex, you have just better plushness, because it's not moving inside, it's just going exactly where it was designed to go. The other things let's get into here is we have lots of infinite adjustments. So we have high speed compression, low speed compression, and rebound. So those are premium features only on the highest end suspension anyway. We also have bleeder valves. So right here, if you guys can hear that, we have these little valves that you can release the negative air pressure after a long day of riding or even midway through your ride, and that keeps your fork feeling good. On the other side here, we have an air chamber. We actually have 2 air chambers. So we have a positive air chamber that you access here on the top, and that is how you sort of set up the main feeling of the fork. We also have what they call the plus ramp up chamber that you access from the bottom. These work in conjunction to have pretty much infinite tunability and set up your fork to ramp in totally different ways. You can pump up that lower chamber as a bottom out control, so if you're hitting big jumps and stuff, you won't bottom out. It will keep ramping harder and harder and harder all the way through the travel so that you don't bottom out, you don't ruin your fork, and it still feels really supportive. We've been playing around with, messing around with these 2 settings, and you can literally just tune it exactly how you want. The limits of these are really high pressure. You can do 300 PSI in the bottom, 150 PSI in the top. For reference, I'm running 85 PSI in the top and 150 in the bottom. I weigh 185 pounds. This fork feels incredibly plush at that PSI, and yet I can't bottom it out. Hitting those little whoops and stuff on the trail, you know, really trying to nose dive it, it just doesn't bottom out, and yet it feels supportive still. I don't know how to explain how it feels so freaking good.
It's unreal.
But
it's crazy.
Like, we're gonna put Alex on our bike in a minute, on my bike, and just get his reaction. We'll stick a camera on him, because the other ride, I hopped on Alex's bike after riding this setup, and I just shook my head. I just couldn't believe the difference that it made. And I know it's $3,000, you guys. I'm not trying to make that light, because that's expensive. But I have zero regrets spending the money to get this suspension with how much I ride and riding all this rocky stuff, getting out on the trails. I literally had the most fun I've ever had on an e-moto ride. The last ride we did, the first time I had this fork.
Yep.
Okay, rear shock. Let's talk about it really quick. So this is the EXT Arma MX. This shock is specifically designed for a Talaria or a Surron. They're exactly the same. You don't need to pick a different size whether you ride one bike or the other. I'm running a 500-pound spring on here. I started with a 450-pound spring. I think that probably would have been fine if I had a stock bike that didn't have a ton of weight of extra upgrades, but the 500 is suiting me nice. I weigh 185 pounds. Even with gear and everything, I'm about 185 pounds. So I've had this shock for about 2 months. The reason I got it is because my stock shock pretty much blew out. I had about 4,000 miles on it. I wasn't too disappointed in the performance of the stock shock until I rode this, and then it was like, what am I even doing not having good suspension? So this has very similar adjustability to the fork. You can adjust your spring tension. You also have your high speed compression, your low speed compression, and your rebound, just like your fork leg. And you can really fine tune again how this shock feels. You can tune how it ramps up, how it feels on the small bumps, how it feels on the big hits. You really have a lot of adjustability with that. I feel like there's not that much more I need to say about the rear shock, other than it really helps the bike feel really extremely stable. It also helps it feel playful at the same time and very planted. I feel like I get more traction out of this tire with this shock. One other thing I want to add with the shock and the fork on here is that with all the tunability and adjustability that you have, no matter how you set them up, they feel good. And that's the difference between a high-end suspension setup and a low-end suspension setup. is on a low end, oftentimes you need to run your rebound all the way fast. You need to run your preload all the way soft or all the way hard, depending on what you've got, to get it to feel even remotely okay. On this, I can go rebound all the way fast. I can go rebound all the way slow. There's like 15 clicks of adjustment on all these settings, and it still feels good in all of them. They just feel different. So you just tune it to what you like, and it's gonna be perfect for you. Now, I also wanna add, this is only one of 2 rear shocks specifically designed for a Surron or Talaria. The other one is the Vaughn Cat that's on Reed's bike. You may have seen, we've done a video on this shock. This shock is $600 retail. Reminder, this one is $1,150, so this one is pretty much half the price. Now, I just want to add, this shock is a huge upgrade from stock, and we don't hate it, we really like it, and we do recommend it. If that is the price point you want to spend, fantastic shock over stock. This shock is better though, and it has more adjustability, more fine tuning. You do pay a premium price for it, so it is more expensive, but if you want the best, this is the best. There's no denying that these shocks are different, and the price reflects that.
Okay, now it's time for me to get on this and try the Foryou and Arma. I haven't tested this too much. I've pretty much ridden it up and down the road, and that's about it. This should be good. Oh my gosh, dude. I was 10 feet away and I could already tell that it was better than mine. This is a really rocky section of the trail that my bike just like busts through the rocks. It doesn't even move. The fork barely like goes. And this doesn't even feel like there's rocks here. It feels like I'm actually riding a downhill mountain bike instead of one of these bikes. Oh my gosh. Somehow this makes the bike feel insanely light compared to my suspension. It really does feel more playful. Lance has the 1821 wheels, which make the bike quite a bit bigger than stock, and especially bigger than a 1619 setup. But man, does this feel light and playful and fun. I've been on the fence about spending the ton of cash that it takes to get this fork and rear shock, but I think this sealed the deal. I'm done with my stock suspension. I want to upgrade. Because dude, this is unreal.
All right, I just hopped on Alex's bike. This is Lance, so we're gonna react to, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This suspension is just, oh. I'm trying to be nice, you guys, but I feel bad giving this bike back to Alex in a minute because he's got to ride it all the way back down this rocky trail, and I get to get back on my amazingly suspended bike. But oh,
I really like how Lance has this set up. It feels powerful, but soft. Here's a drop. Oh. It just snaps right back to where you want it. That rebound is doing work, dude. Okay. That freaking seals the deal. I'm gonna go buy the suspension right now. We're gonna go order it because this has blown me out of the water. I didn't even know what I was missing.
Guys, I had no idea. You just literally forget. Once you get good suspension, you just forget. You just don't even remember what it was like for all the thousands of miles that you rode on this suspension.
Alex is up there trying it out. I'm sure you've already seen that. I'm sure he's freaking out because it's freaking amazing. I just want to mention that we have ridden a lot of forks. We started with the RST Killer. We've ridden the D&M. Both of those forks are junk. We've ridden the Fast Ace. We've ridden the tuned Fast Ace. We've ridden Talaria Factory Fork. We've ridden Fox 40s and Manitou Dorados. Those forks are really good mountain bikes forks, but they are not made for these bikes, and they do not work with these bikes very good, especially after you upgrade. They just feel way too flimsy and not supportive. We've also ridden even a KTM 85 fork on the Charged Cycle Works bike. That fork is unreal, but it's a whole nother category.
It's heavy too.
And it's so much work to put it on, and it's super expensive.
Yeah, I would never pick that over these.
No way. This fork just bolts right on, good to go.
I think that seals the deal. The ride that I just took on this bike was unreal. I didn't even know what I was missing, you guys.
It's unbelievable. Like, You don't know you're missing it until you ride it. Then you're like, oh crap.
Right.
Where's $3,000 for me to spend?
Right.
I gotta go find it.
I gotta admit, it was getting on my nerves a little bit how much these guys were talking about this fork, but I get it, you guys. It's so good.
It's like riding on a cloud. That's what I've been telling them.
It's true. It really is.
Oh my gosh. I just got back on my bike. Oh. Let's go. I gotta get used to how like soft it feels. This feels so smooth. If you guys are interested in purchasing some EXT suspension, hit up EXT USA or your local dealer that carries them. Sometimes with something that needs to be serviced like suspension, it's great to just buy it from your local dealer. You're able to oftentimes get it serviced through them as well. Guys, I am blown away by this suspension. I should have spent the money earlier. I know Alex is literally gonna go home and pull some money out of his savings account and buy some suspension. I know it's expensive, but if you ride a lot, I guarantee it's worth it. And we're not getting paid to say this, you guys. We're just so dang hyped to be able to ride this amazing suspension out in this beautiful place where we live. We're trying to eat it up as much as we can before winter hits. Thanks for watching, guys. You got anything else?
If you see anything on the bikes that you want, please hit up Charge Cycle Works. We've got a discount code. It helps them out, it helps us out, it gives you 5% off. Just hit them up for almost anything that comes on these bikes. They do it all.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next video. See ya.